Good afternoon, lovers. Lovely to be with you. Hello on this glorious Thursday afternoon. I know I usually do my Cuppa with Katie on a Wednesday. This week it's Thursday because yesterday it didn't feel aligned for me. And that's something I promise you always, and I promise my clients, and they know this of me. I will not deliver if I feel forced. Because I want you to get the best of me. I want to feel like I'm in flow as much as humanly possible, because to be in flow does require us to overcome our humanness on a daily basis. And yesterday I wasn't feeling it. I felt quite emotional yesterday. I felt quite, emotionally challenged. I couldn't think particularly clearly, and I needed to prioritize me and what I needed. And then that becomes, I know, a win-win for us both, because when I take care of me, I know you're going to get the best version of me. And I'm sharing that straight off the bat because right there is a lesson, right? Right there is something we all have to remember on a moment by moment, day by day basis. Oh, Emma's here. Hi, darling. High speed train across France. How very cool. Emma, have you ever been on the Shinkansen, the high-speed train, the bullet train in Japan? Now that is high speed. I don't know what the French trains are doing, but my God, the Shinkansen in Japan is amazing. It's very exciting. And it's like a military operation getting on and off, because God forbid you're late, you will miss that train. They run those trains to like a schedule down to the T. They're so reliable. You got to get there. And the views are amazing. Amazing. If you're here live, say hi. I'd love to know who's listening. And if you're on replay, please type in #replay. And if I begin to share something today and you're like, oh my God, such and such girlfriend needs to hear this, just please to be sharing it. You're so welcome to share. I love it. Sharing the love. So today I would like to talk to you about speaking your truth. And you, who's that? You, hello, you. Today I want to speak to you about speaking your truth. And it's come up because there's a couple of areas in my life where I am being called to speak my truth, but right now is not the time. And I'm going to touch on that today, because we kind of bandy this term around. Oh, speak your truth. Oh, it's Polly. Hello, mwah, my darling. How are you? I've got to order more of your chilish. I must do that. Note to self. Send me an email. Remind me and I'll order from you. Yes. So I am not in the right space to speak my truth right now. And as I was about to say, this piece in empowered women's circles of you must speak your truth, it's important to speak your truth, is something we hear a lot, right? And I'm saying it all the time to my clients. And I've just, before I jumped on the call, I just from memory just jotted down 5 or 6 different clients that I know that I'm working with, and the conversation has been about speaking your truth. And I'm going to share their little examples with you, because I'm hoping through sharing examples, or have you kind of go, oh yeah, that's me. All right. Yeah. And it'll be like just that little nugget that you needed. And they do need to speak their truth. And often that is the coaching I'm delivering. And sometimes it's important to not speak your truth. And I'm going to explain why towards the end of today's chat. And I'll be here for 15, 20 minutes. So if you've got a cup of tea and you want to join me, please do. I today have oat milk with ashwagandha powder, some cinnamon, and a little bit of maple syrup to give me that sweet kick that I desire today. And it's absolutely bloody delicious. So speaking your truth. Anybody here live now, or even if you're on replay, remember, type #replay and I will still see your comments. Anybody here? Oh, hi, Claudia. Yes, it is yum. Anybody here knowing that you know there's an area in your life where you need to speak your truth, where you have to put on your big girl pants, tap into those beautiful big ovaries, and do some adulting and say what you think and share how you feel. Anybody else here needing to do that? Emma is here. Hello, honey. And yes, you do. Me too, darling. Me too. I have a professional conversation to be had, and I have a personal conversation to be had. Yes, Claudia does as well. Awesome. Okay. And do you know why you haven't? Why haven't you spoken your truth? Do any of you know why? What I see in my clients and what I know for myself. Do you know what I know for myself? Yes, this is true for me and not as true as it used to be, because one of the big pieces, Emma is also saying she has to speak her truth. We do. I would challenge any of you not to have one area of your life, one person that you need to speak your truth to. Emma's saying, I've been scared about rejection. Right. Exactly. That is the nail on the head, isn't it? This is one of the biggest reasons why we don't, because we're so scared of being rejected, of being abandoned, of being outcast, of feeling on our own in the world. And that feeling of being on your own for our human experience is like death, because we need each other to survive. So, on a basic primal survival level, rejection, remember, on a primal level and it's an emotional level. We know it's not true, but emotionally, and the emotional piece is tapping into a very, very young part of us, that part of us that required somebody to take care of us, to feed us, to clothe us, to protect us, to put a roof over our head. That's the part of us that gets activated. So we're baby, we're very young, we're toddler, we're definitely pre 6 or 7 years old. That part of it gets activated. It's very unconscious, but we feel it, because at that time of our life, we had to have someone take care of us. If we were rejected, abandoned, left on our own, we would die. Unless somebody came rescued us, but then we're not on our own, right? We would die. That part of us gets activated in adulthood. Now, we know it's not true that we're going to die. We know in most cases it's not true that if they do reject me or abandon me or don't like me for what I'm going to say, that we're going to be excommunicated from our entire community. It's probably not true that that will happen. We know that. It's probably not true we'll end up on our own. Maybe there'll be a person, some people, a small group of people that won't want anything to do with us anymore, but it doesn't mean we'll be totally alone. We probably have other people in our lives. But all of that rationale, that intelligence goes out the window, doesn't it? Because we just feel that sick feeling. We have that empty space, and you can't see what I'm doing. I'm doing this. Yeah, that area for me, it's right in there. It's like, and it communicates emotionally and primally to me, you are on your own, sister. And it feels like death. Yeah. So Claudia's saying, I'm always thinking about the other person. Right. Because God forbid you don't. If you're only, that's exactly it. You want them to be okay so that you can feel okay. And right there is like a flip on what I've been saying. If they don't feel okay, you don't feel okay. If they feel rejected, you feel rejected. If they're feeling abandoned, you're going to feel abandoned. And then it still spirals into that primal, I'm not going to survive this. So you feel the need to take care of them so that you can feel okay. But that's classic codependency. Which is why my course, Love Yourself Free from People Pleasing, is so phenomenal, because it helps you completely heal that habit of behavior. Because remember, habits can be healed. We can rewire and create new healthy habits that support us. Emma's got a difficult conversation to have with someone, scared to know how to put it right. Yes, exactly. So right now, because you don't have that answer, Emma, it's not the time to speak your truth, but the time will come, and it's all about preparation. And we'll get to that in a second. Yes, Claudia's agreeing with what I'm saying. Awesome. Okay. So I'm just going to throw out some examples of, first of all, just why it's important to speak your truth and why you might not be. So I was speaking with somebody the other day who is in a brand new relationship. I've been on 7 or 8 dates. It's become intimate. And she hadn't had the conversation around the fact that she has herpes. And now, so we had a really empowered conversation about this. Now, I can't remember the stats, and I'm not going to do a call on herpes here and now. Something like 1 in 5 people have it, and she's had it for so many years, and it seems to be dormant. Anyway, we had this whole empowering conversation where she got into reality through connecting with actual stats, actual facts and figures about, and really releasing the shame around having this STI. Which she'd inherited from an ex-husband who'd been playing around like it wasn't her fault. I mean, it never is. You know, it's just one of these things. It's like the common cold. Okay, it's so easy to contract, and it doesn't make you a bad person. And we do have to release the shame on that. And by the way, I did do a whole Cuppa with Katie on that subject a few weeks ago, so you could probably find that on our YouTube channel. If I get a moment, I might link to it. But she was like, do I say anything? What if they don't like me anymore? What if that will end the relationship? Right. And the fear is, I'm going to be alone. I don't want to speak my truth. I'm going to be alone. How will it make them feel to hear me say this? I should have said it earlier. So that codependent thing, I need them to be okay so that I can feel okay. It all came up. But at the end, it was, well, if you really desire to have this relationship, well, it was really about tapping into the values that she wanted realized within the relationship. And one of those values was honesty and authenticity and truth and open communication. And she wanted that for the relationship. So of course she's being called to speak her truth. But before she could, she had to prepare herself and know what she was going to say, know how she wanted to feel, know the ideal outcome that she desired from that conversation, not just blurt it out. What was I going to say on that? I can't remember. Anywho, so we got to the point of, oh yes. So because she wanted an open, honest relationship, she had to bring her courage forward and speak her truth to model and demonstrate that she was going to show up as an open, honest communicator in the relationship. And if that wasn't met, if the person did reject her, say, I can't be in relationship with you, then right there was her answer, whether this was her person or not. Because the truth is, she has herpes. Yeah, it's not active in her at the moment. It doesn't seem to be. There's no guarantee on that. But this is with her for life. And she can live a lie. She can hide out in the shadows of shame, choose to align with shame. It's not shameful to have herpes, but she could choose to align with that, to not speak her truth, and have relationships that don't feel fully authentic, or she could just not have relationships. And none of that is giving her what she needs and what she desires. So the person she's with has to really love and accept her fully for all that she is, the package that she comes in. And if they can't, then it's not her person. That's the truth. And then this or something even better comes into play. There's something better for you. There's someone out there that will love and accept you for all that you are, for the truth of you. And so it's tapping into that before you have the conversation, this possibility that if you're not my person, if you reject me, there'll be others that won't, or someone that won't. And it goes deeper than that. I mean, the work I'm doing with women is about getting them to a place of self-sufficiency and self-love and having their own back, to the degree that if they are rejected, they've got them. I got me. That's where we want you to be. That's the ideal place, right? Emma saying, I only think I know what I want to say. Okay, so we'll get to that. I have another client who was dating somebody who was in a marriage, and it just wasn't, the relationship really wasn't going to go where she wanted it to go because he's married. And they had a beautiful connection and a beautiful bond, but time and time again, she was hitting a brick wall because she couldn't take it where she wanted to take the relationship because he was married. But The idea of speaking her truth about what she really wanted from a relationship was terrifying, because if she spoke that truth, the relationship would have to end, and it meant she'd be on her own, which felt terrifying. Another example was a client that was having problems with a neighbor that had let her down, with parents from the school that had let her down. The various different scenarios were going on for her where she was feeling let down, where she was feeling a bit bullied, actually, and other people were getting their way and getting their needs met, and she wasn't. So there was some codependency stuff coming up for her, where she was sort of bowing down and allowing and being polite and making sure that everybody else felt okay, but ultimately she hasn't felt okay. And so she's been going through a process of tapping into, what does she need to feel okay, without concern as to how they feel. She's been let down, but her fear of speaking her truth was that she was scared to let them down in some way, or for them, she was scared for them to have a different opinion of her than they currently had. And that was it's a huge piece to overcome. Again, codependency. Another client has been on several dates with a guy, really great guy, really get along well. When they're on the dates, it's brilliant. But there's masses of time in between each date because he travels a lot and he's not communicative in between times. And there's been no communication from him that gives her clarity on where they're at in whatever this is. Like, is it even a relationship? What are we doing here? And there's no clarity. And she's in this horrible no man's land of not knowing. And she's been there for quite some months, actually. And she recently went on a date and it was fabulous. And the guy was on paper all brilliant, but she didn't get the feeling she had when she was with this other guy, where she had the feeling. And so she's being invited to step forward and speak her truth and share with the guy how she feels and what she wants next. And she's nervous to communicate that. But the irony there is, and what you'll find, the link through all of this, is there's a vibrational match. Like, he is not communicative. She's not communicating. And right there's the vibrational match. She has to speak her truth and actually make that demonstration to the universe to say, I love myself enough to say how I feel and to ask for what I need. And then she will be the vibrational match for somebody that can show up for her in that way. But we've got to put on our big girl pants to speak that truth, don't we? I've got another client who has been approached with a job opportunity, but the hours of the job and the pay for the job don't suit her. It's not paid well enough, and the hours don't match her schedule. And I said to her, well, how would it feel? And this is still, a few of these are still a bit of a work in progress. But I said to her, so how would it feel to go back to them and say, these are the hours that would suit me, and this is what I would like to be paid for those hours? And she's like, well, that's just not how it is. That's not the pay rate. That's not what they're offering. They've already said they've been clear about the offer. But my feeling is, well, that's not how it is for them. But could we just pay some attention to how it is for you? Like, what about just how it is for you? And it doesn't even come into the equation. It's like, well, they need this, and they've said that, and this is what they've offered, and that's what they're paying everybody else. So it's an equality thing. I couldn't possibly come in and earn more money for less time. And I hear that, and factually, it makes sense, but it's not honoring her truth and her desire. And what I have seen again and again and again in my clients and in my own life is, when we speak our truth, it's a win-win. Who knows what will come from her sharing? The job sounds fab. It's just not going to work for me in terms of pay rate for those hours. And this is what I would desire. Not only might they say, do you know what? You're fabulous. We'll honor that. We'll offer that. And do you know what? You're right. We might give everybody else a pay increase because actually we've been doing them a disservice. Or maybe they offer her a role that's slightly elevated to, but we're not opening up the energy to something more. We're not moving into an expansive space by not speaking our truth. When we speak our truth, we are expanding. There's a movement of energy, and I can really feel I feel that in my body as I say that, and I wonder if you can too. There's a movement. We're not stagnant, and we're not trapped in fear, which I got to remind you, fear, false evidence appearing real. It's not true. Let me just say hello to some people that have arrived. Hello, Anne-Marie. Good morning. Lovely to have you. Claudia's saying it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, we are so afraid to ask for what we need. And yes, for all the reasons I've shared, and more reasons, and it's unique to every woman and man. And it's a practice, and we have to practice being vulnerable. It is a practice. Hi, Suzanne. Lovely to have you here. And so preparation is key. Preparation is absolutely, and Irene's here. Hello, good to have you. I've got some love festers here. Love it. So preparation is key. So like I was saying, in the women's empowerment space, there's a lot of chat about you have to speak your truth. It's so important. Speak your truth, speak your truth. And I hear women, they're like, and so I spoke my truth and I told him how it is. But it's coming from a place of fear. It's coming from a place of ego, of kind of like, back off. I'm going to say it how it is. And, like, I need to be right. It's kind of a proving energy. It's not coming from a grounded, centered, I've tapped into my truth. I've tapped into how I feel. And I've done my work around this, like the fear piece, the wounding piece, the rejection piece, my childhood trauma pieces. Like, I've done my work. I'm not bringing that to this conversation. I'm bringing love to this conversation. But we cannot speak our truth from a place of love and vulnerability, because when we're doing, I spoke my truth, I said how it is, and like that ego, I'm not doing it very well. I'm not a born actress, but that energy is that's not love. That is not vulnerable. I've got a coat of armor on. I've got some sort of protection on when I'm speaking in that way. There's no win-win there either. The win-win requires vulnerability, open-heartedness. When we have an open heart, we are, of course, vulnerable. But we should not open our heart and be vulnerable if we haven't prepared ourselves first. That's not self-loving. That's not empowered. So we have to take care of ourselves in the process before we speak our truth vulnerably, open-heartedly, from a place of love. We take care of ourselves first. So we do the work. I've done multiple videos on how to have clearing conversations and so on. But, in a nutshell, it's taking time to just feel into, first of all, why do I feel the need to have this conversation? Like, check it out. Is it an ego thing? Do I need to be right? Do I need to say it how it is? Do I need to prove myself in some way? Like, check that out and do your own self-inquiry and your own work around that. Because as you do your own inquiry and work and healing around what is that about for me? Why is that coming up? Maybe a conversation isn't even required, because it's actually a conversation you need to have with yourself. But check it out. Why do I need to have this conversation? What do I think I'm going to get out of it? What do I want to get out of it? How do I desire to feel at the end of it? How do I desire to feel while I'm having that conversation? What's required in advance for me to feel that way? Like, do I need to do some research? Do I need to write down some facts and figures? Funnily enough, I was going through some old journals and stuff yesterday, and I found some notes that I'd made, because I don't throw much out. I've got journals dating back years, and I've got so much stuff. I mean, and I found some notes I'd made where I was getting into reality about a conversation I had to have that was involved solicitors and legalities, and I really had to step into my power, and I had to make a lot of notes to remember, this is why I need to have this conversation. This is why I'm going down this path. This is the facts of what happened. This is what I believe should be resolved. This is what I want as an outcome. We have to do that work first. And depending on the complexity of the conversation and the situation, depends on how much preparation we need to do. But just blurting out your truth, if you're not prepared, is probably not going to take you to a beautiful win-win outcome that I would, that we want to move towards. Expand on vulnerability. Yes, we expand into vulnerability. Yes. Thank you for the hugs and kisses. Yeah, Sonia's on board. I'm bringing love to this conversation. Yes. Yes. And if that was just our intention, that's so true. Yes, the underlying energy is so important. And if that, hold on. Great. Yeah, if that was our intention, how can I bring love to this conversation? Imagine just that be your starting point. Not even, I must speak my truth. I must be an empowered woman. I must prove that I'm right. I have to get my message across. What if we just pulled back and set the intention? What would love say? If I could speak from love, what's required for that to happen? What is required for me to be able to speak from love? Like, take responsibility. What's required for me to feel the way I desire to feel when having the conversation? What's required for me to feel the way I desire to feel in terms of the outcome of the conversation? Do your own self-inquiry first. Then it will be a win-win conversation. Now, they might not like what they hear, and they might well reject you and abandon you. But if you're prepared, you've got your own back. And part of your preparation might even be checking out all the fear stories. I'll be alone. I'll be rejected. I'll be abandoned. No one will like me. I'll never find another relationship like this one again. Like, look at all of those beliefs that are blocking you from speaking and saying what you need and how you feel. And ask yourself, is that true? Check them out. Because right there, if you do have the experience of being abandoned, they don't like you, they don't want anything to do with you ever again, because you've done that work first, you've got you. And even though that person turned their back on you, you've done the work to remind yourself in advance, but not everybody has. Because they love me and they love me, and I've got them and I've got her behind me and I've got him behind me and I got me behind me. You're prepared. So I was saying I've got a couple of conversations to have, and I haven't had them because I haven't had I'm gonna have to catch myself here. I was about to say I haven't had the time and space or capacity to prepare. While that's true, I also haven't created the time and space and capacity to do it. Because I am in choice on this. I've chosen to prioritize other things. So it's there, it's sort of lurking in the background. But what I'll say for sure is it's now. It's got to a point now where it's taking up, it's becoming like an energy drain for me. I can feel the energy drain because I'm thinking a lot about, I must prepare to have those conversations. I must have those conversations. I'm thinking a lot about that, but not actually doing the preparation. So it's an energy drain right now, and I'm very alert to it. And so now that I'm really feeling that, well, first of all, it prompted me to do this video, because I'm like, if it's happening for me, it's happening for you. Because that's the human experience, right? I am you, you are me. We are the same. I'm reflecting back to you something about you. You reflect something back to me about me. So, if I'm feeling it, you're feeling it. I'm experiencing an energetic drain at the minute because there's a couple of conversations I need to have. I am not willing to just blurt it out because I am an empowered woman and I do love myself. So I will prepare first. And the time is coming. I now need to do that preparation. And I trust that I've known about this for a while, and there's an element of, so this is where the masculine and feminine come into play. So there's an element of my masculine, my empowered masculine, will sit me down, get out a paper and a pen, make lists, make notes. But I'm leading into that. I can feel my feminine is working behind the scenes. So I'm not doing nothing on this. I'm very aware. I'm feeling through it. So there's a lot that's going on with these two people that I need to talk to. I'm feeling through stuff. I'm witnessing, I'm watching, I'm in a curious state. And I'm allowing my feminine to feel her feelings around it. And I'm allowing, I'm just trusting that as I'm feeling through it, and I'm intuiting a lot as well, that I will bring that to my masculine, and it will inform my masculine with my list writing and my preparation and my notes. So it's quite a process. So I'm aware there's an energy drain at the minute. There's a conversation needs having. I'm also aware that I am processing in the background. So I'm getting on with all these other things. I've got lots going on in my life, and I'm processing something in readiness to do the masculine preparation to then be able to have the empowered conversation. I trust that makes sense. This makes so much sense. I was going to speak with no prep as I thought it would be more from my heart. That does make sense. And I get that. And perhaps there is a time and a place for that, because you can trust that maybe your feminine has been preparing for you to have the conversation in the background, and maybe that's enough. So like, there's no science to this. This is not black and white. This is where self-trust comes into play, and really knowing yourself. And in the early days, I mean, I'm a master coach. I've been working in this space for 12 years now. I work with a lot of women around this subject area. So I'm pretty highly skilled in this department now, and I'm still human and fallible and still scared of rejection sometimes, so I do still have to do my work. But you've got to kind of learn. You'll get to a place, and some of you will be in this place, and some of you are still practicing getting to this place of real deep self-trust and real deep self-knowing, and then also total surrender. This is, like, for me, it's total surrender, because I don't have all the answers, and I know I can do all the preparation in the world. And when it comes to speaking my truth, when I'm vulnerable, I know it's not going to be perfect. I know there might be some awkwardness around it. And I can love myself through that. Like, an empowered conversation isn't always going to be perfect. But as long as it comes from your heart, that's the main goal. Emma's saying, what if the person you want to speak to isn't willing to give you much time? That's when I tend to panic and say the wrong thing. Well, that would be part of your preparation. So if you know that in advance, and if you know you need more time, then you need to set up the conversation in advance. So you need to contact the person in advance. So there's something I'd like to speak with you about. I think we're going to need this amount of time, but you might even say, it feels really vulnerable for me. I don't want to feel rushed. I want to feel like I can just open my heart and speak to you. And so for us to not feel rushed and to have the time and space that is required, could we maybe, I don't know, set a calendar date, put it in the diary, do some planning around it. I mean, you're an adult, you know how to have that conversation, but plan in advance, because otherwise you're staying stuck, spinning your wheels in fear. Because you think fear, false evidence appearing real, because you think that they're not going to have the time that you need. And so nothing's happening. So it's a practice right there. Ask for what you need. I need your attention. I need your time. And they either come back to you with a yes or a no. And then you play it from there. But my darlings, I've just had an alert come up on my screen. I'm doing a podcast recording in 7 minutes. So I need to just jump off and go do that. So I love you loads. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope something that I have shared has sparked something for you. And don't forget, we can dive deeper into topics just like this in the Love Lounge. So Love Lounge is my membership space. It's £49 a month. You get group coaching with me twice a month. There's masterclasses. We had an amazing one last night on emotional eating and essential oils. It was really great, and definitely I've upped my game already today in terms of my nutrition and just general taking care of myself. Yeah, we have a couple of masterclasses every month, a couple of group coaching calls. It's an amazing Facebook group community. We're still quite small. It's highly interactive. It's so supportive. You can bring your questions into that space or onto the coaching calls, and I will see you because we'll be on Zoom and I can support you. And we do a 7-day free trial as well. So you can come in for 7 days, try it out. If it's for you, you can stay and go into the monthly subscription. If it's not for you, you can just leave. No questions asked, but the link is above. My pleasure, darlings. So good to have you here. Glad it was perfect timing for a few of you. Yay. Always. See the win-win right there. Okay, darlings. Love you. I will see you next week, probably on Wednesday. Okay. Have a great rest of your day.